Chancellor, we come to the conferment of our first honorary graduate. Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege to welcome Christiana Figueres to Cranfield today. Christiana Figueres was the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change for 6 years. She was appointed to that position in 2010, shortly after the failed climate change talks in Copenhagen. She was tasked with leading the next round of talks, leading to the Paris Climate Conference in December 2015. Her objective was to try and persuade governments around the world to reach an agreement on the best way forward for our planet. By her own admission, she didn't have a plan, but by building bridges, stressing the benefits of collaboration and shared responsibility, and driven by her belief that impossible is not a fact, it's an attitude, she turned things around. The Paris Agreement in 2016 was a triumph, and Christiana Figueres helped the world to achieve the most important climate deal in history. By May 2017, 195 governments had signed the accord, making it the first ever global agreement on climate change. As the climate economist Lord Stern said of her, she is gifted with an outstanding ability to see where we need to go as a world and to bring people together, and Christiana is one of the great leaders of our time. Throughout the process, she encouraged a shift in the economic equation and stressed the economic advantages of change. She also stressed that any such agreement had to protect the vulnerable. She is an inspiring and optimistic force of nature, and it's a great honor to welcome her to our graduation ceremony today. Christiana Figueres was born into a life of public service. Her father was president of Costa Rica 3 times. She has dedicated her career to climate change, sustainable development, and technical and financial cooperation. She is a citizen of the world who speaks 3 languages. I know she also takes immense pride in the 2 young women who are her daughters, Naima and Johanna. Both are currently studying for master's qualifications in environmental related fields. As Christiana jokes, the apple does not fall far from the tree. Both as a mother and as a professional, Christiana is a strong advocate of how education is linked to practice and of its power to influence public policy. Throughout her career, she has carried into practice the Cranfield message about the impact of education and research on water and sanitation in some of the most impoverished parts of the world. Last year, of course, Cranfield was awarded the Queen's Anniversary Prize in recognition of our work in community water and wastewater management. And many of you here today will use your learning at Cranfield to make an impact on the world. I asked Christiana if she could go back in time and meet her 25-year-old self, what advice would she give herself? She told me, "Follow your passion to bring about change. We can't fix climate change, but by educating people and by working smarter, we can mitigate its effects and turn it into an opportunity." In her spare time, Christiana enjoys bike riding and running, both very environmentally friendly pastimes, but says that her favorite pastime is spending time with her daughters. Christiana Figueres is a wonderful role model and testimony to how much influence and impact one individual can have. I am absolutely delighted that she has agreed to be conferred as an honorary graduate of our university. And so, Chancellor, I am authorized by Council and by Senate to ask you to confer on Christiana Figueres the degree of Doctor of Science honoris causa.
I'm absolutely delighted and honoured to admit you to the degree of Doctor of Science honoris causa.
Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, faculty, friends and family of the graduates, but most especially the class of 2017. I'm overcome because you will hear through my words that the future is in your hands. So let me start with something more somber. I have already said publicly many times that it is too late to fix climate change. Unless David Hannock's PhD thesis takes us to new levels of carbon capture and sequestration. The concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere today already make it very evident that we will continue to have worse and more frequent extreme weather events, such as floods, droughts, and cyclones. And we will also continue to accelerate the slow onset events of desertification and sea level rise. This is an injustice. This is an injustice to those who are most vulnerable today. This is an injustice to your generation. This is an injustice to all generations in the future. And this is an injustice to all those who today and tomorrow are either already or will be forced to migrate away from their homeland because they have no livelihood at home. So whose responsibility is this? Well, let me be very clear. There is no doubt that the industrialized countries were the ones who caused the concentration of greenhouse gases that we have in the atmosphere since the Industrial Revolution started, by the way, in this fantastic country. That is not ideology, that is not politics, that is a physical fact. Now, having established that, I am always very quick to add, there is no point in blaming a set of countries, there's no point in blaming a sector, there's no point in blaming a generation. A blaming finger will not take us forward. And it will not bring us closer to a solution. First, because those who caused the problem did not know the consequences of what they were doing with the burning of fossil fuels. And secondly, because as we know from our daily life, to stay in blame keeps us from moving forward. So here's my proposal. My proposal is that we honor the historical responsibility on the shoulders where it belongs, but that we also, and at the same time, and perhaps with much more enthusiasm, embrace the opportunity that is ahead of you. There's no doubt that climate change is the defining issue of our time. But I would also say that addressing climate change is the transformational opportunity of your time. I cannot think of a group of professionals who are better placed to stand up to this challenge and meet it, holding your head very high. There is no doubt that food and water are the two life essentials most affected by climate change in every country, in every geography. There's also no doubt that how we produce food, how we produce power and use energy, are the two strongest determinants of how effectively we will address climate change in the medium and long term. So what that means is that you who are prepared in agri-food, in precision agriculture, in energy and power, in environment technology, you are at the heart of the greatest challenge of this century. If I may say so, you are at the right place at the right time. In particular, just a couple of weeks after Mr. Donald Trump's announcement on climate change. Because you are now part of an overwhelming and growing number of stakeholders, people, countries, corporations, civil society, people who have stood up to say, we are still in, we are actually doubling down on our efforts, we are recommitting and deepening our resolve to address climate change. You belong to those people. So during your time here at Cranfield, you were provided clearly with cutting-edge tools, you were exposed to defining experiences, and you have created enabling networks. As you leave this ceremony hall, okay, maybe not today, maybe after you have finished celebrating over the weekend, you will inevitably face the Monday morning question. And the Monday morning question for you is, how am I going to integrate and apply everything that Cranfield has given me? How will I apply the tools, the experiences, and the networks that I have built here? I would say you have two options on how to answer that question. The first option is that you either go back to or you take a new job that pays your bills, and that job you may find is the job where you take your body from 9 to 5. That's one option. The other option is to not engage with life mechanically, but actually to engage with life passionately. To bring not only your body to work, but to bring your body, your mind, your soul, and your heart. To bring your all to the engagement that you choose with the world. To live as if your life really mattered, because it does. And to work as if the future depended on you, because, my dear friends, it does. Make no mistake, the tools, the experiences, the networks that you have created and that you have assembled here at Cranfield, those that you bring to bear will determine the quality of life of no less than 9 billion people. You will determine the quality of life of 9 billion people. So my little humble suggestion is, if that is the case, then you better make sure that the tools, the networks, and the experiences that you integrate and apply to the outside life will also determine the quality of life of the one person you know best, and that is yourself. May you go into the world, may you do well, and be proud of yourselves.